Hello friends, and welcome to this week's lap of the fish room. I've decided to go ahead and film it as opposed to doing a live lap during the live stream, since that required a bit of editing afterwards so I could release it. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this a video that will be available both in the live stream and then I can release it later as a separate video. So at any rate, let's go ahead and take a look at what's been going on here in the fish room. There have been a few changes, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. Sometimes I like to leave the door open so we can air out the fish room. This is the view out the back door of the fish room. As you can see, it's a beautiful Tennessee neighborhood. A little overcast and windy today. It's funny, it was beautiful and about 75, 80 degrees yesterday, and here we are again today with overcast conditions. But let's go ahead and start with the Betta Tank. The loaches in this tank are doing really well. They're just playing all the time. Where before, when I had one, he was just hiding all the time. Now that I put two in here, it's just out and about and playing and moving around and being very active. You can see the little, there's a little Pleco down there on top of that almond leaf. And that almond leaf is disintegrating, so I'll probably have to replace it. A lot of the stuff that gets kicked up in the substrate when I clean is just disintegrated almond leaf. I feed these guys a very limited amount of food, and I'll show you. Let's go ahead and just push this back. As soon as I do that, they know it's time to eat. Now, if you're wondering where my red velvet Betta is, he actually went and died on me. I picked up this little Dumbo. It's a cute little Dumbo Betta. And I'm not going to buy big Bettas anymore. I'm going to buy smaller Bettas that are younger. So you really can't tell how old they are when you get them. So I'm going to buy smaller Bettas and hope that they're able to give me a little bit longer lifespan. But here's some of the things that I feed them. I feed them the bug bites. I also have some Sarah, some of this Sarah color. They call it color food, but it's called Betta Gran. And I also have some of this North Fin Betta Bits. Let's give them a little bit of, let me see what's easy to open with one hand. We'll give them some bug bites this morning. And I feed them just once a day. And they get really just a teeny pinch of food. I'll show you. About a nickel size of food. Not even the full small pinch. And that's what they get for the whole day. And then I'll also drop an algae wafer in there, and sometimes some shrimp pellets, things of this nature, for the loaches and for the plecos. This tank is empty, and it's just unavailable as a hospital. It's available as a hospital or a quarantine tank if I pick up some fish. This tank here, I went ahead and cut back all of the Sprite, and I cleaned it up and trimmed it. This is the 20-gallon tall from Glass Cages, as you can see the label. And what I did is I was going to move a lot of the Sprite out and put it like in the Betta and in the 55 community tank, but I decided, you know what, I'm just going to leave it here and have it be just a place where these little babies can hide. I mean, because I'm getting so many babies, and I imagine a lot of them over time have been eaten But if I create this big mound here, it's a great, like a perfect hiding spot for fry. And there's always at least one, usually two females about to burst in this tank. What am I going to do with all the little fish? I don't know, maybe take them to the local fish store. Someone suggested I feed them to the cichlids. We'll see, time will tell. But I want to give them a chance by having a place they can go ahead and hide. The other 29-gallon with a couple plecos and some of these snails, some pagoda snails, that tank is also just waiting as a holding tank. This heater, by the way, when it gets really cold, does a great job. This is a Dr. heater, it's called, and it comes with a remote control. I'll keep it at 68 unless it gets freezing outside, and then I'll switch it to the 70s, like 72, and it does a great job. All right, let's look at the 90-gallon. 90-gallon is doing great. It's ready for a cleaning. You can see how it's growing algae along the bottom here, if you can see that. A little bit of algae. I might throw a Pleco in this tank. A little bit of algae near the top here, and a little bit on the plants. I can touch those plants up by hand, and I'll probably just do a little touch up there along the bottom edge. The GEOs are always uncovering the base, digging stuff around, but I'm not complaining because they do a real good job at keeping the substrate nice and clean. But sometimes they create cave-ins. Things will fall over because they'll move all of the base, you know, whatever's under something. So if you have anything tall, if you have something tall, be careful because they'll eat away they'll move the bottom and then it'll fall over. But these fish are doing well. A little more light. There we go. It's an AC Hygger. Once classified as a GEO, but it's not classified as a GEO anymore. Little silver dollars. There's that big old beautiful electric blue Ochart. I love the markings on the face of the red spotted gold severum. He's almost too bright for the camera. I have to adjust the light settings, but he's starting to get these like these etchings along the face and forehead. And of course his body markings are beautiful. But this tank will get a little touch up, and then I'll flip the lid on it. I'll maybe take a look at the filters. I'll test the tanks before I do a water change. If my nitrates are in the right, I might just not mess with it. Maybe do a water change next week. Here's the planted tank. And if you look closely, you'll notice there's some new plants here along the edge. These tall, lighter green ones are brand new. And there's an Anubias and a Java fern right there in the front part of the wood. And I'm still working hard to keep the black algae from spreading. Some plants seem to be more resistant to it than others. Not sure if the phosphate pads that I added are making a difference. The Buenos Aires tetras are munching a little bit on the plants, but not really on all of them. Really, just these small swords that they kind of munch on, and then the swords sort of erupt and start growing again. So that's fine. If they want to munch on the swords, that's okay. The Buenos Aires tetras, ones with the pink tails, the red tails, very active fish. as opposed to like the lemons who are pretty mellow. Serpas are pretty mellow. All the neons are doing great. There's 10 of them in there. First batch of neons I've had that have really lasted, been a little more rugged. One little lone ember in here. You can make them out there. Little ember tetra. Some quarries. A nice group of rummy nose. Love the look of rummy nose with those black stripes on the tail. A couple cherry barbs. There's 3 cherry barbs. 2 that I bought originally and 1 that was born in the tank. There's a group of 5. There's boras. They tend to mostly school together unless they're being startled. It's a really big pagoda snail. This is the mother of all the pagoda snails. Looks like she's on the move. There's one of the little plecos on the wood, and stuck underneath the wood there is the whiptail catfish. He loves to blend in with things that he just sort of looks like a piece of wood himself. This tank is also at this point a bit of a holding tank. And it has the Taiwan reef, who went blind on me. Don't know what's going on. His body did have some marks on it, so he may have been harassed by another fish. But he was in that little 5-gallon. I moved him over here to the 55, so he has more room to swim around. And I'll drop food in the tank, and he'll just kind of go around and mess around with the substrate until he finds it. If I do get more fish in, I'll probably use a divider in this tank. And I've got one of those Life with Pets 55-gallon divider. So I'd split this tank up and then use it as a quarantine tank. So that way he could just stay in a little bit more room, and then when the other fish come out of quarantine, I'll go ahead and remove the divider so he has more room to hang out. There are a couple plecos in this tank. Here's the 210. All the beasts in the 210 are doing great. Wondering what I'm doing. Jack Dempsey, she's doing great. Oscars continue to be pals. That's a good thing. And that Vieja is just a beast. Okay, let's see if we can see a face-off. Here comes the firemouth. Is the Nicaragua interested in playing? Let's see. No, just interested in looking at me in case there's going to be some food. Salvini is hanging around her cave, not sure what's going on. Love the variation in color in the body of a chocolate cichlid. Of course, I love the markings on this red tiger Oscar. Can you show them to me? Green Terror is doing great. Nobody's messing with them. Hey, look who came out of her cave. This giant piece of wood that I harvested locally continues to float. Will probably float for the next 20 years. Really pretty piece of wood. Really glad I got it. Had to cut it because it wouldn't fit otherwise. Go over here to the 300. Everybody in here is doing great, waiting to be fed. I'm going to be adding a brand new rock that I just purchased. If you saw that video where I went to the fish store, I picked up a beautiful black and white zebra rock. So I'll probably, looking at the rocks here, I'll probably turn them because they do have a little bit of brown on them. So I'll go ahead and turn them, put the clean side up. This Bucochromis rhodesii yellow is just really popping. So I'll turn the rocks and figure out what spot I want to put that black and white rock. Maybe I'll remove this one because it is the least amount of gray. Remove that rock and put the black and white one more towards the middle. Kind of a showpiece rock. Very, very pretty. This plant looks good, doesn't need any cleanup. This tank doesn't really seem to get much algae at all. It gets a little bit of mulm on the glass, but really no algae. You can see how much water movement occurs in this tank. That creates a tremendous amount of oxygen. So between the two outputs of the Shisei 5.0 synchrosilent pumps in the sump and that FX6, there's a lot of oxygen in this tank. Love the look of this trout. That's today's lap of the fish room. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's get back to the live stream. If you're watching this during the live stream, and if you're watching it as a standalone video, please be sure to comment and hit that thumbs up and subscribe, and then hit the bell, all that good stuff. And apparently when there's more comments, that's when YouTube gets excited about a video. So be sure to comment under the video. Let me know what you think. Any suggestions? What do you think I should put into those quarantine tanks and add to my main tanks? I'm always listening to what you have to say, and I appreciate your input. If you'd like to support the channel further, consider becoming a member of the Garage Gang, and that really helps. It's a monthly way to support the channel for as little as $3 a month. Check it out. I'll include details in the description below the video. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in, and that's it for me. Bye-bye.